What's up, guys? We're here again with another episode of LDCC Sports Zone. Today, we will be going over week 4 and week 5. We're going to do a double episode. We didn't really get everything together on time for last week, so we're just going to combine week 4 and week 5 together, but we're still going to do everything we were going to do for week 4. And we won't include the outcomes of week 5 games to impact a lot of the stuff for week 4. So we'll just get right into that. For JV, then the offensive player of the week, I have Tyler Jenkins. He shot 8 of 18 from field goal. That's 44%, and ended up scoring 17 points, and his team won that game. For defensive player of the week, I have Dean Owen. He got 12 defensive rebounds, 1 steal, and 3 blocks, and he's a guard. So him putting forth that effort to get those stats, it really showed when I was watching that game, and I feel like he deserves that. We'll do JV, then we'll go into varsity, so you can give yours for JV.
So for JV week 4, then I've got John England as the offensive player of the week. He had 15 points on 53% field goal. And then for my defensive, I've got Michael Kingston, who also had 12 defensive rebounds, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. So, he had a really good defensive week.
So we'll get next into varsity, and then after we give our players of the week, we'll get into the predictions, and we even put together, if we were to vote after week 4 on who would get the awards for the year, that me and Garrison talked before we recorded this on who we think deserves it, and we'll be letting you guys know. So if your name gets mentioned, keep it up. You're doing great. There were a lot of names. A lot of these were hard to make, and we were thinking about doing 3 people like we would at the end of the year, but we'll end up doing that at the end of the year, not halfway through. So for my varsity offensive player of the week, we actually chose 3 people because week 3 felt like everyone was starting to pick it up again on offense because teams were struggling to begin with. But for my 2 players that I picked, then I have Garrison. I played against Garrison, so I witnessed this firsthand, but he shot 8 of 17 from field goal, which is really good. 47%, 4 of 8 from 3. That's 50% from 3, and he ended up scoring 26 points. For my second pick of offensive player of the week, we normally don't do this, but I feel like he deserves it. I have Ephraim Kingston. He shot 7 of 14 from 3, which is 50%, which is great compared to what he has been doing. And he finished the game with 21 points, straight threes. That game was a lot of fun to watch. For my defensive player of the week, I have James Stevens. James, for some reason, ends up with 5 or 6 steals a game. It doesn't seem like he does, but every week he does. But he racked up 5 steals this week 4 and 1 block. So.
And then for my week 4 offensive player of the week for varsity, I've got Jared Taylor. He was 8 of 18, shooting 44%, and he also picked it up from 3. And I've been saying all year they got to keep Jared inside and quit letting him shoot so many threes. But maybe he watched our videos and decided he wanted to prove me wrong or something. Shot 4 of 9 from 3. That's just under 50%, and ended with 21 points. I believe Jared and Ephraim played each other.
They did, yeah.
And so, before I go to defensive, I did want to mention Dylan's team would not have won that game without Ephraim. Ephraim hadn't been for the first 3 weeks putting it up anywhere close to these numbers. And then out of nowhere, he just goes 7 of 14 for 21 points. That game, Zach would have won that game if it hadn't been for Ephraim. So, that was big for him. And then for defensive, I've got Terrence Summers. He's put up 4 blocks. So, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
4 blocks. He had 3 defensive rebounds, but the 4 blocks is the big thing that gave him the edge there. So,
yeah. And we can talk about, we got a lot to get to. We can talk about a little bit about the games, but to summarize Dylan's team versus Zach's team, then Dylan's team was just shooting very well from three. And Zach's team, seems like every time Zach's team would score a couple times, then Dylan's team would break their momentum with a three or a steal or a fast break, and Zach's teams couldn't get ahead of it. And like Garrison said, Ephraim, at the end of that game, Ephraim hit 2 threes in a row, and they knew that they had to get it to him. He helped them win that game. The next game, I believe it was me versus Ortel. In that game, then statistically, if Garrison put up the numbers he did last week, my team wins that game by about 10 points. But Garrison doesn't like playing bad 2 games in a row, so he performed well enough to put them in a position to win that game. I believe, you guys won by 3. My team played well enough to win that game. We just missed a couple shots at the end, couldn't quite get over the hump. I turned it over a couple times in the last 2 minutes. And I would like to mention, I do like the shot spread on my teams, for my team shot selection. We had a lot of people take between 8 and 11 shots, about 5 of us, so that's a good spread on a team that you want, but it just wasn't enough. And then on Garrison's team, James Stevens improved a lot from 3 on that game. And then in the last game with Ashton versus Troy, who won that game again?
That one was Mason.
Oh yeah, Mason versus
Barely.
Ashton.
I did want to point out in the Jonah versus Ortel game, I think the biggest difference there was that you guys shot 15% from 3 and we shot 39% from 3. And so you guys beat us from 2. You guys beat us at the free throw line. But that 3-point percentage, I think, is what kind of killed you guys.
And missing free throws. I missed free throws, yeah. My team missed 5. Your guys' team missed 5. So that if either team makes their free throws, that's not you to win. So
yeah, and then so Ashton versus Mason, that game, I actually didn't stay for that one, but from what I hear, it was getting a little chippy.
So I was reffing that game. Ashton came right out the gate playing extremely well, hitting shots. Brayson as well came out hitting shots. Brayson's been struggling from 3 this year, which is, he's just bound to pick it up because we know what he can shoot from 3. But I don't think he shot above 30% this year on 3s.
Probably not. Not overall, for sure not. But
yeah, so once he picks that up, that's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot harder to defend those guys.
He's 22% on the year, and to be top 10, you only have to be 30%. So,
what am I? I'm shooting 27, so that's not too shabby.
So anyway, yeah. So this game was getting a little chippy from what I heard. I know that Tech ended up being thrown out in that game, but what it looked like, and from kind of what I could gather from that game, is kind of the same thing, same story as you guys versus us. Mason's team shot at 35% from the 3, and Ashton's team shot at 16%. And so that was probably Ashton's worst game of the year. He only had 16 points. He's usually averaging in the 20s. He went 0-3 from 3. I think before that he was shooting in at least the high 30s, maybe 40s from 3.
I think it was high 40s.
And he did all right from 2, but he wasn't himself. Brayson put up 20. That's solid. Probably about what you'd expect out of Brayson.
Yeah.
But like I said, 1 of 8 from 3 for Brayson, 0 of 3 for Ashton, 16% as a team. I think that's their problem right there. And that's why they didn't win. Mason's team, they all around shot it pretty well. Their 2-point percentage needs to go up though. Especially guys like Cade, who's kind of, his 2s are a lot, just around the rim a lot.
Yeah.
So he's just got to put them in. And then people, I don't know if people realize this, but a mid-range shot is the worst shot that you can take in a basketball game. unless you like Jonah or Brayson, where you just hit them, you're automatic. Your best shots in a basketball game are going to be right out of the hoop or from three.
Or at the white line.
Yeah, but yeah. So I see like Mason has a bad 2-point percentage. James O'Brien went 0-4. I don't think he was taking those out the rim. I'm pretty sure those were mid range, just from what I've seen from him.
They probably were.
Same with Abel, 1 of 6. Those are probably mid range. Jacob Jr., 2 of 5. His 2 makes were probably at the hoop. His 3 misses were probably mid range. Mid range is the worst and lowest percentage shot, I think, in my opinion, in basketball. Because if you're going to be shooting from out there anyway, you might as well take a step back and
have
get
it
3 points. And, you know, if you're going to get 2 points, go get it right at the hoop instead of shooting mid range.
But they don't add a 4-pointer, and you could be scoring 4 on each one of those shots, huh?
I don't know.
Okay, do you want to go over your predictions first on what you predicted on and not?
Sure. Yeah. So.
Okay, I'll go next.
So anybody who's been watching and following us the whole entire way, you guys know that right before the basketball season started, me and Jonah predicted how we thought the season would go once the schedule was released, and we told you guys we would do a halfway point recap, and so that's what we got here now.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind anything that we're talking about up to this point, and until we announce we're talking about week 5, nothing from week 5 has been into consideration, and so just keep that in mind. So we're going first 4 weeks, even though we did have our week 5 just happen. So I went 8 out of 12 on my game predictions. So I predicted, so I had a really bad week 3. I got all 3 of those wrong, and I got 1 other game wrong. Other than week 3, I'm almost perfect. But week 3 was just a weird week, I guess. So Ashton picked up a win over Ortel that I predicted to go the other way. Jonah picked up a win over Dylan. Mason picked up a win over Ortel, and Ashton picked up a win over Zach. Those are the games I got wrong. Everything else I was right on. So I predicted at the halfway point Ortel would be 4-0. He ended 2-2. Dylan I predicted to be 3-1. He was 2-2. Zach I predicted to be 2-2. He's 1-3 now at the halfway point. Jonah I predicted to be 2-2. You were 3-1. Mason I predicted to be 1-3. He's 2-2. Ashton I predicted to be 0-4. He's 2-2. And so it is a weird season. If you looked at the standings before, just barely. Right after week 4, everybody's 2-2 except for the top team was 3-1. The bottom team's 1-3. Super tight playoff race. And so, yeah, like I said, I went 8 of 12 on my predictions. It's not bad. It's 67%, but I seem to get like 1 wrong from each team, and so it messed all the standings up that I predicted, but that's okay.
So for me then, week 1, I got all the predictions right. I had Zach beating Mason, me beating Ashton, Ortel beating Dylan. Week 2, I had Ortel winning that versus Ashton. Ashton won that game, so I predicted that wrong. Dylan versus Mason, I had Mason winning that game. Dylan won that, so I predicted that wrong. And then I predicted that I would win Zach that week, so that one was correct. Week 3, Jonah versus Dylan, I predicted I would win that one. The next game, Mason versus Ortel, I had Mason. I predicted that one would work. That one would be what it is. Zach versus Ashton, I had Zach. Ashton ended up winning that one. And then week 4, I had Jonah winning Ortel. Ortel ended up winning that one. Dylan versus Zach, I had Dylan. And then Ashton versus Mason, I had Ashton winning that, but Mason ended up winning that. So I predicted 7 of 12 of them right. I predicted, I got 5 of them wrong. So
we're pretty good. Pretty good at our jobs.
Not too bad.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up by the end of the year. We'll do this again, but 8 out of 12, 7 out of 12. That's not bad. Then last thing for week 4, we wanted to go over the awards that we would give out at the halfway point. And so we're looking at MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man, Rookie, and Most Improved. This is only for the first 4 games. So I know week 5 just happened and a lot probably changed in week 5. We're only going off the first 4 weeks. So,
and this is something me and Garrison both talked about and voted on who we think deserves it if we were to give the award out now. That doesn't mean somebody else wasn't in the running. We just figured this person deserved it more than the other person, and that those can change as the season goes on.
Yeah, and I guarantee almost every single one of these will go back and forth.
Yeah.
And so this is just what we had through week 4. You know, people start out kind of rusty, or some people start off really hot, and everything can change. I'm sure that this isn't how it's going to end. But yeah, this is what we picked so far, and it was like John mentioned earlier. It was kind of hard to choose out of some of the people, but we just did the best we could. And so, starting off, first 4 games, MVP goes to Ashton Kingston.
He's for each game. Then there have been other people that has been putting up similar numbers to Ashton. Ashton just does it more efficiently, and he's been shooting great from 2 and 3. He's been getting rebounds, and I mean he's 2 and 2, so he's just as close in the race as everybody else.
Yeah, and so we couldn't get the exact week 4 stats because they put week 5 up before we were able to actually look at it. But I do know Ashton was scoring the most points out of anybody at the most efficient rate. And so, like, he wasn't the leader in points. He actually was for a few weeks.
Yeah.
He ended up getting passed up, but he was scoring a lot of points and doing it really efficiently. I think he was always at least 2nd or 3rd in points, and he always had a higher field goal percentage than anybody else who was up there. And so he gets that. Moving on to defensive player, we got James Stevens.
And we'll say you can tell them why.
This might not be a very popular pick, but James through the 4 games. Let's see. Do you have week 5?
That's us playing.
Do you have week 5?
I do, yeah.
Come back, guys.
You want stop.
And today,
Let's see. You want James's stats?
Yeah.
Hold up. Here we go.
So, through the first 4 weeks, James Stevens had 17 steals. So, 4 weeks, took him 4 weeks to get 17 steals. That's more than 4 steals a game. He's getting the rebounds done. He only has 4 blocks.
That's one per game. That's not much for the next guy.
1 a game. 4 steals a game, though. Like, that is, that's honestly kind of crazy. He has more steals than anybody by like double.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, James Stevens for defensive player, and it really just comes down to his steals. I don't know. You have anything to say about that?
No, I didn't. It doesn't seem like he gets that many in the game, but you look at the stats after, and they're 4 or 5 steals a game. That's 20 fantasy points just off the steals a week.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
So yeah, we give that to James. He is on my team though, and I would like to see his turnovers drop a little bit. But yeah, defense player of the year at the halfway point goes to James Stevens.
For 6th man, then we talked about it, and we decided that Dylan Reynolds would get 6th man if we were to vote halfway through the week. Just based off of the stats he's putting up, the efficiency, and the way he's kind of gave a boost to his team when he subs in the games and stuff. That's really something you're looking for in a 6th man. We feel like he's the one that does that the best out of everyone right now.
Yeah, and with this, it I mean, me and Jonah probably made it a little bit harder than what it needed to be. And I know this isn't the popular pick. No disrespect to Dylan, but I mean, when people watch this, they're probably gonna be like, "No way, Dylan's like."
They can say
But-
whatever they want.
And I mean, we made it probably harder to pick than what it needed to be because when it comes down to and when you actually look at it, I mean, there's nobody that's performing even close to the way Dylan is. That's a 6-man right now.
Yeah, and Danny doesn't count.
Yeah, Danny does not count as a 6-man. He's just because he started 3 games already. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think those are the only games he's gonna be playing. Maybe he can play one more.
yeah, and then moving on to rookie. This is kind of the same thing, except for this probably will be a popular pick. But there's nobody that's really even close with this guy. It's Joey Walton, dominating on the offensive boards, putting up more points than any rookie.
More rebounds. than-
Rebounding overall, yeah. He's having a really good rookie year, and you look at the other rookies, and it's just not close right now.
Yeah, I'll get the next one because this guy's on my team last year. So for most improved, we talked about it and we decided to vote on Charles Bryant. Last year he struggled with putting the ball in the hoop when he would get a rebound, and this year he's doing it really well and he's getting more rebounds. That could just be because he's getting a little bit more playing time. I didn't give as much playing time as I probably should last year, but this year it's nice to see him get a rebound, and there's a really good chance it's going in, that he can put it back in, because in the past years he's been struggling with just putting layups in, but it seems like he's doing it really, really good this year.
Yeah, so we actually talked about most improved probably longer than any of the other ones, and it was a tough choice, but really, like Jonah said, what it comes down to is, I mean, I haven't looked at the stats from last year, but right now Charles Bryant is putting up 7.4 points a game and 11.2 rebounds a game. I guarantee you that is like way up from what it was last year.
Yeah.
Way up, especially on the points. I would like to go back and look at it, but yeah, Charles Bryant most improved. So I think we're good to
I think that about covers it for
jump
week
into
four.
week 5 now.
All
So-
right. Tell me, don't worry, Brayson. We'll talk about your 40-point game. We'll go over JV first, like always, and then we'll get into the varsity stuff. So everything we talked about now is week 5. Week 4 is done. This is gonna be one big video. For offense, then I have the same person for offense and defense. This person absolutely killed it this year. I mean, this game, that they won, and he killed it in fantasy. James Reynolds shot 8 of 11 from field goal, 72%, 6 assists, 18 points. And for defense, James Reynolds, 7 steals and 3 blocks. Those are great numbers from a player. Seems like I didn't watch the game, but looking at his stats, it seems like he was everywhere, all over the court. And the 6 assists just shows that he was even dishing the ball extremely well. So props to him. He's on both, so he's player of the week for JV.
Yeah, and that's the best performance anybody's had this whole year in JV. Absolutely, probably better than a performance we've seen in varsity, I would say. I mean, the 18 points. I mean, we've seen higher points, but to shoot at 72% and get it done on the defensive end. Yeah, that's probably the best performance that we've seen up to this point so far this year. So, really good job for James. My offensive player of the week for JV, same as week 4, we got John England again. 7 of 20 field goals, so he dropped a little bit. That's still 35%, and he had 4 assists and 19 points. And so, congratulations to him. It mainly came down to the points. And then for defense, I got Jared Peterson, who just one steal under what James had. He had 6 steals. So I think James was the obvious, this is easily our defensive player of the week. But Jared, he was still solid, so he gets the second defensive nomination.
All right, now getting into varsity. I'll let you talk about Brayson so I can talk about you. So my offensive player of the week is Garrison Kingston. 11 of 24 from field goal, 45% from field goal, 7 of 16 from three, almost 50%, trying to continue what he did last week. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 31 points. I watched like the last 2 minutes of that game because I was on the D-League court helping ref. So I didn't get to watch the entire thing, but from what everyone was telling me, then you're just unstoppable sometimes, and that's what it sounded like from that game, that you were just playing really well. My defensive player of the week goes to Ren Jackson. 12 defensive rebounds and 3 blocks. He doesn't like usually getting rebounds. He usually lets Jared take them, but it seems like in this game he took initiative, wanted to make sure there were no second options, and he did that, and he was a presence down low with his 3 blocks. So
Jared didn't even go to the game last night.
Jared wasn't there?
No.
Oh,
So
I didn't even know that. I didn't know
someone had
that.
to.
Yeah, so he stepped up and took Jared's place, I guess.
Yeah. So, for my offensive player of the week, I mean, I thought that I was going to be the highest scorer of the week, and then you look at the stats, and somehow you got Brayson Taylor, who put 41 points on the board last night. That's crazy. He did shoot 34 times, but
52%.
At 52%, and you're dropping 41, then it doesn't matter how much you shoot. You shoot all you want.
Yeah.
So, 18 of 34, that's 52% field goal. 3 of 10 from 3. Not great, not terrible. It's 30%. He had 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and 41 points. As far as I know, that's the highest anybody's put up this year.
That's
41, and it's the highest by a lot.
I think
the second is probably 31.
Yeah, I think you're next to
That's
31.
Yeah, so he's got the highest point score in a game by 10 points. So great performance from Brayson this week. Led Ashton's team to the win. And for defense, Brayson Taylor, 4 steals, 1 block. So Brayson getting it done on both ends. Probably not even probably, best overall player in week 5. Absolutely. So nice job to him. And a couple honorable mentions that we have. Garrett Jenkins, he was 1 assist and 1 rebound shy of a triple-double.
Let me pull it up. Okay, I got Ashton. Yeah. So Garrett put up 9 rebounds, 9 assists, and 11 points.
Yeah, so 1 assist,
shy.
1 rebound shy. And
1 shot.
I would guess Garrett probably made a pass to somebody that might have been a wide open layup, and maybe they missed it.
A lot of us made passes that
Because
could've been.
happens almost every game. So, I mean, he was close, though. Triple-double is very rare in our league.
Extremely rare.
I don't know if anybody's ever put one up.
I can't remember.
I'm sure someone has, but
I'm sure James Stevens did back in the day, but I can't remember the last time somebody did.
yeah. And then Ashton,
He put up basically similar numbers: 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and 20 points.
So Ashton, he was 2 rebounds shy and 1 assist shy. 9 assists, that's a lot for our league.
That's a lot.
Our leader in assists is averaging like 4. And so, Ashton put up more points than Garrett. Maybe he needed to focus more on getting his last 2 rebounds and an assist. Just kidding.
He should have, especially with Brayson putting up 41.
Yeah.
But he still shot 47, Ashton did, so that's great.
Yeah. So, honorable mentions, we just thought they had great performances, almost putting up the triple-doubles. So, figured we'd give them some flowers too.
We gotta talk about it. Almost made history, man. First triple-double recorded in BCCS history.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So, we can jump into the games now.
So game 1 was Ashton versus Dylan. I showed up to that game about halftime. Just trying to give you Dylan's stats. Here. Yeah.
We kind of already covered it.
Yeah.
Brayson went off.
So Brayson did go off, but one thing I'd like to point out is Dylan's team still had 20 plus turnovers. So if you look at a lot of the teams per game, it's between 10 to 20 turnovers. Some have a little bit more depending on how hard the defense is, or sometimes you're just struggling. But Dylan's team consistently gets between 15 to 25 turnovers a game, which
Averaging 18.4.
yeah, the 18.4 turnovers a game. And if Dylan's team can just if they can have under 10 turnovers and then just shoot great like they have been, that team's gonna be really tough to beat. You're gonna have to just shoot better than them at that point, because a lot of the points that a lot of the chances they have to score points they throw away because unnecessary passes or dribbling off the foot or something as simple as passing to someone that's not ready for the ball. How do I say this to where it's not as mean? They know what they're supposed to do, they're just not executing it right, if that makes sense. So they have guys in the right spots. Sometimes their hands can't grab it. Sometimes they lose it on rebounds. They're fighting for it, whack it out of bounds, last touches, all that stuff.
Yeah, it is becoming a pretty unfortunate theme for Dylan's team, averaging almost 20 turnovers a game. Nobody else is really even close.
I think, my team would be the next closest, but I think we're all...
You guys are about 14.
Yeah, 14.
And so, and I believe there's another team that's 14.4. I don't remember who, but
it's probably Ashton's.
probably.
I think they have one game where they did really bad.
So Zach's team leads the turnovers per game.
The least amount?
He has the least amount, and that's 10. Everybody else is under 15. Dylan's team is at 18. So, I mean, if they can pick that up, they will be really hard to win. And they lost this game by 10. I'm sure they lost a bunch of points because of their turnovers, though.
I mean, I'm sure they did, but even looking at it, you look at their 3-point percentage, then it's doing solid, and you can see that they're improving. The only issue here that you will look at the stats is Brady in the last 2 games has shot really well from 3. In this game, he didn't do very well. He makes 2 more of those threes. They don't turn the ball over a couple more times, and it's a 1-possession game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think overall, I mean, this was a really high scoring game from both sides, 79 to 69.
Yeah.
If they clean their turnovers up, I think they get the win. But, I mean, I guess props to Ashton's team. They had 12 steals, so 12 of the 21 turnovers were steals. I don't know what they were doing with the other 9, throwing the ball out of bounds, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's game 1.
Game 2, we have Zach versus Ortel. I'll look at your stats. You can look at Zach's.
So for game 2 that I was playing in that game, Zach versus Ortel. Jared ended up not showing up. I heard he was sick, and so that was unfortunate for Zach's team. They lost one of their best players. It was a 5-point game, and you never know, but having Jared there, I mean, I think
it definitely would have helped.
Yeah, anybody has a good argument if they say Jared would have made that game completely different. I mean, they probably would have won if Jared was there. Thing that they did struggle with a little bit, other than Zach, was their threes. They shot 27 as a team, but that was boosted way up because Zach shot 57%. If Zach hadn't shot that well, I mean, everybody else, 22%, 18%, 0%, and 20%. And so you obviously want to see that go up if you're Zach's team. Their twos, you want to see go up a little bit. It was 42%. It's not that bad. Um, I mean, they didn't have a terrible game. You obviously want a little bit more offensive firepower, especially playing against a team like our team, where that's our whole identity is just we're gonna outshoot you.
And if you can't keep up, then you're gonna be left behind.
Yeah, and so yeah, obviously you want to see a little bit more offense, but they weren't terrible.
Yeah, looking at Garrison's stats, then I mean they ended up putting up 60 points in the total in the game. We talked about earlier. Garrison was 31 of those points, which is over half, and I didn't see how they were guarding you or if they were doubling and trying to get the ball out of your hands. But looking at the amount of turnovers you guys had, which is 8, means you guys took care of the ball, which limited them to only 5 steals. You guys right here have 10. You guys have 12 assists. They have 12 assists. Looking at the stats, it just I wish I could have watched, but seems like you guys were just trying harder because you guys have more blocks, steals, and I don't know if the urgency was there for them to guard you. I mean not guard you, but double you. When somebody is just cooking you, you have to make an adjustment, or it's just gonna keep happening. And I don't know if they did, and you were just still able to pull through. But even looking here, you guys missed 9 free throws.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. They only missed 6. So if you guys make those 9 free throws, then that's a 14-point game.
Yeah, and you look at these stats, and it's honestly crazy to me that they didn't win. Like I'm looking at it, and I'm trying to see where we were better than them. We shot 2% better from field goal. Okay, we shot a little better from 3. They were 27, we were 33. From 2, we were 38, they were 42. And free throw, they were 40%, we were 47. We made 4 more than them because we shot 7 more than they did. But the rebounding, they were 47, we were 38, 12 to 12 on assists. Like I'm trying to figure out how we won this game. Looking at the stats, they turned the ball over 3 more times than us. We only had 6 fouls called on us though. They had 13. That might have something to do with it.
Well, you guys didn't make the free throws, so it's kind of
yeah. So yeah, I mean it was a close game, but I can't say like Zach played really well or Tell played really bad or really well, or either of them played really bad. Like we played really similar, and so I mean I guess it just went our way.
Did you guys make more threes than them? So they made
We did.
9 threes.
They made 1 more than us.
Oh, so that's
And so that's I'm trying to figure out how we won. But anyway, yeah. So a few things that we pointed out. I mean, the fouls were pretty low. We did pretty good on our turnovers, and we were getting blocks and steals. So maybe that made a difference.
All right, let's talk about this last game. Let's get it done. You can have my stats. I'll talk about this. I'll go first.
All right.
So, game 3 was Jonah versus Mason. That game, I don't know. I think it went to double or triple overtime.
Went to 6 overtimes according
That's
to
the
the stats.
stats are wrong. I think
It's
it
triple.
went in triple overtime. That game was really hard fought game. Holy crap, we really did. So it looks like both of us shot 75 times and both made 25. Looking at Mason's stats, then they had 2 people in 20-point figures, which is Abel and Troy. Abel shot 44, Troy shot 30, which is about what you'd expect from Troy, but not from Abel. Abel played really well. Abel hit a game-tying 3-pointer in overtime 2, I think. Second overtime.
It was the
First or second
no, it was the
overtime.
second.
First or second overtime to keep them in it. They ended up coming out with the win. I missed a free throw at the end. Garrett missed a free throw at the end. I turned the ball over at the end. It's just my team just made a lot of bad decisions towards the end of that game. We gave them a chance and they capitalized on it and ended up winning the game. So
Yeah, and I mean, looking at it, this is a lot like our game. You guys both shot 25 of 75. You guys made 13 twos, they made 15. You guys made 12 threes, they made 10. It honestly came down to just the free throws. You guys made 8, they made 12, and it was a 4-point game.
We missed 5 and they missed 6.
Yeah, so they got to take a few more free throws than you guys. The foul count is pretty close. I guess you guys fouled more on the shot than them. You were taking a lot of side outs.
Yeah.
So, but looking at it, you played all right. You know, you had 15 points, 37% field goal.
37 is bad for me though. I usually above 40.
Yeah.
So.
It's not terrible, but it's for sure not your best outing. Lucas finally did something. Like, not to sound mean, but it's about time. He shot 8 of 19, 42%. He had 22 points. I mean, I'm sure everybody's just been waiting for that. I mean, you guys probably more than anybody else have been just waiting for him to finally do something.
Yeah. Yeah. At the start of that game, I think he hit 3 in a row.
Threes?
3 threes in a row. And then after that, they kind of were pressuring his side a little bit more. So we tried to get other guys other shots, and I think we went dry in that second quarter, and just missed a lot of shots. And then we were trying to make up for it in the last 2 quarters, and we did enough to tie the game, and then just couldn't finish it out.
Yeah. You guys, I mean, that was a long game, going to 3 overtimes. That put you guys at 37 minutes.
46 minutes total.
Well, I think the stats are wrong because they'll throw 7 minutes for each overtime.
Yeah, that's right. It says there's 6 overtimes.
Total, you guys, I believe
That's an extra.
total game time was 37 minutes. And, I mean, NBA players play 48, but they also got 15 guys on their roster that they can sub in, and their bench isn't terrible.
Yeah.
But, couple things I did want to talk about with this game. So to start, you look at the rebounding. Jonah's team had 35 rebounds. Mason's team had 53.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Offensive rebounds, man.
20 to 8, that's true. I also noticed Joey was not playing a lot of the game. He's probably your guys' best offensive rebounder.
Yep.
And he got 15 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys had going on there. Like, Joey usually plays more than that.
Well, the thing
He
is,
smoked us. I know that.
in overtime, then, I mean, when the game was winding down, they kept getting Joey on a switch, and he kept jumping the screen and letting the guy drive, so someone would have to leave their guy and then get a wide open shot. And as the game was getting down to crunch time, you can't really allow that because one shot and you're done.
Uh-huh.
So he allowed it one time. They took a shot, and then we went down. Lucas hit a 3. And it's like, okay, we just matched point for point. And then he did the exact same thing. It's like, I love having you in the game because you do so much and you try so hard, but we can't be having this right now because we got a minute to go, you know?
Yeah.
And then we subbed him out, and then in overtime, then it's like, okay, we have what we have here. We've finished the game. Let's just finish it, and then just never ended up putting him back in.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, the rebounding is something that stands out to me a lot. I mean, both sides had pretty balanced scores. 23-21 on Mason. So you guys had 22 and 15 as your 2 leaders. So, pretty balanced. One other thing I did want to talk about, and I know that you do not want to hear this right now.
What?
You guys were up by 6 points with 10 seconds to go in that double overtime.
I know. Troy hits a 3, I turned the ball over, and they hit another 2.
And so, I know that it's not something you're interested in talking about. Really, I'm assuming anyway. I mean, I ran into the same thing when I played Mason's team. I had nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
But, I'm going to talk about it, and you feel free to comment however you like.
We're good. Just
So there's about 13 seconds in the game, I want to say. You go to the line, you're up by 5. you split those free throws 1-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you put your team up by 6. Game should be out of reach at this point. Honestly, before that, Jacob Jr. misses a 3. You guys are up by 5 with like 15 seconds. Almost any team, especially what I've been seeing this year, they give up at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They don't think they have a shot. They'll let you dribble the ball out. For whatever reason, Troy goes and fouls you. Okay? And most people would give up. Props to Troy for not giving up, I guess. But most teams would have given up. Troy fouls you. You split the free throws. You're still up 6 with about 13 to go. Troy comes down and hits the shot. It's not the end of the world. You know, you're still up 3.
Mm-hmm.
You guys do the full court pass attempt that has worked out for you guys in the past.
I know.
I know you guys had the game with Dylan Reynolds that you did the same exact thing and it worked and it won you guys the game. So you guys tried to do that to Josh. It looked like maybe you guys weren't quite on the same page. You overshot it a little bit, or Josh is, you can see in the video, he's slowly leaking out and then he stops and the ball flies over his head, so he tries to make up the ground, but Troy is just faster, and so he goes and grabs the ball.
Yeah.
They call a timeout. You guys defend that second play really well, and I honestly thought watching it they were gonna give the last shot to Jacob Jr. and I was like, that's risky right there. Okay, but you don't. Troy doesn't give him the ball. He loses it. I think it goes between his legs or something, and it just somehow ends up in April's hands.
Like he kicked it, but you can keep talking.
Maybe he kicked it. I didn't look close enough.
You're good.
It somehow ends up in Abel's hands, and he hits a 3 that hits the very front of the rim, bounces way up in there,
And then
goes in
Yeah.
and ties the game at the buzzer. And so, obviously that one's gonna hurt. That sucks.
Yeah.
Props to Mason's team for being able to pull out of that. And then for the third overtime, they kind of just did the same thing back to you guys where they got out to the big lead and you guys just weren't able to recover that. I turned the game off when you went to shoot free throws. I was watching the game at my house. As soon as I saw you were going to shoot free throws with 12 seconds or 13 seconds, I shut it off because I was like, yeah, this is over. And I was waiting for the stats to be put up, and they wouldn't put them up. So I was like, what is going on? I'm like, these guys are taking forever. Get back in the video, and you guys are playing a third overtime. So I was like, how did this happen? So I had to go back and watch it. But yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate turn of events.
Unfortunate's the only word, man. It
Um,
still stings.
my team, I kind of went through the same thing when we played Mason.
Or
We
even
lost it.
even Ashton, you guys almost made a comeback.
Yeah, and so it sucks. I feel for you. We have 2 losses also, and both of our losses were just like that. I mean, we started off in a big hole, but we came all the way back and then lost it at the end. So I wouldn't say just like that, but pretty similar.
Yeah.
But
My team hasn't lost by 10 points or more yet. Only single digits.
I don't think we have either, honestly.
And every game we won was by single digits, so
I think that's the
I'm
exact
I'm
same.
hoping that clearly you want to be able to win all your regular season games, but it's kind of a learning experience, I guess. And when you're played, because all 5 of our games, because we're talking about week 5 now, all 5 of our games have come down to crunch time. And we were fortunate enough to win 3 of those games, and 2 of those games we just threw away. I shouldn't say we didn't throw away against you guys. We had a chance, but we weren't the ones ahead. But that last game, we kind of just, threw it away.
You
And
guys,
just-
you
it's
guys were
better-
down.
it's better to happen now than the playoffs. So that won't be happening again. I can promise you that.
Yeah, you guys, you were down in regulation.
Yeah.
You hit the 2 with 12 seconds left to tie it up, right?
Yeah, and they had 6 seconds tried, and then James O'Brien caught the ball in the corner and then he shot it, and I was closing out, just praying, please do not go in.
Yeah, so
So
I mean, you guys both had your moments for sure. You guys were down, you come back, they're down, they come back, and it was just.
I'm sure it was a fun game to watch for the fans.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it, even though I didn't watch the whole thing. The end was a lot of fun to watch, but yeah. Anyway, I think we're in the same boat. We haven't won or lost by more than 10 either, so it's really close right now. Anybody who doesn't know the standings right now,
We got four teams tied.
4 teams are tied at 3 and 2 for the first through 4th place seeds. And then we have a 2 and 3 and a 1 and 4. So it's a really crazy season right now. It could go like anybody's game right now. Yeah. So stay tuned. See what we have coming up next week. I think that's everything.
That's everything. See you guys next time.